Welcome everybody to episode 8 of Around the Verse. I'm Sandy Gardner and
I'm Ben Lesnick. Welcome home, Sandy.
Thank you.
We missed you here in the office. It was pretty quiet without you.
I see that our home is now a little different.
Yes, we have moved into our new office. It's actually next door to the previous community area. We're expanding the Star Citizen team in LA. They're going to actually be doing ship production up in the area that we were in. And we have this cool new office space that it's time to start decorating.
It is time to start decorating. What do you...
I have a couple of ideas already.
Oh, all right.
This time, on bugs. Bug Smashers! Hey everyone, this week on Bug Smashers, how to fix dev-related bugs. So, this bug is directly related to our development, and it occurs randomly when you either reload our scripts, which will reload our vehicle scripts, or in this case, if we reload our item. And since we're constantly iterating on our items and our vehicles, we needed a quick way to, reload them so that we could see our results in the game. And because they were crashing, this was a problem for our designers, even our programmers. So let me type it in, and we should get a crash. And there's a crash. Woo! To recap on the code, it was essentially the optimizations I implemented earlier. Oops. So if we have 10 Hornets, we'd only have one destruction instance of a character loaded, and we could just swap all the geometry. And unfortunately, the code I wrote for that worked, but not well enough. When you reloaded a vehicle or item, it would cause a crash. Oops. So I'm going to open up three different change lists to tell you what was happening. In this part of the code, which checks for essentially gets called when we want to spawn someone, it will look for a place to spawn and then some kind of linked entity. If that thing didn't exist and it tried to access it right here, you'd immediately get a seg fault and crash. The simple fix was to make sure that the pointer was valid. If not, and we just continue on. Next fix. This time it was a little bit more complicated issue. The thruster or their ammo boxes, they would when the item first gets created, it will call this function and it will save some parameters, the ammo parameters. In this case, anything in our XML. Well, if you reload the game, it doesn't call this function again, and now we have a dangling pointer of this guy, and so when we try to access it, we will get all sorts of random crap. 1 second. I have to burp, but it's not burping. The fix was to essentially change how our reload process gets called. So when we called our reload thing, it will do a preload and then a post load. And I added a post reset params, which will remove our original ammo params, and then it will process the actual XML to see if it's valid, and if it is, it will set our pointers back again. Otherwise, if it fails, it aborts and deletes the item. As I can show you, even the slightest features that we add could have repercussions on anything that we do, so we have to be careful that we don't break things. Sometimes we do, and we just have to quickly fix them. Let's go on to the third. So the player code will actually check to see if there's any items around. So if there's like random guns around, it wants to see if the player could pick it up, which is strange because our vehicle weapons should not be automatically picked up. So in the vehicle weapon, we're just like, we override this function and go, hey, we should never pick this up automatically, especially for players, and so no longer get crashes, and we could do some fast calling on whether or not the player could pick that thing up. So I fixed my code up, bam, worked. Now all our designers could reload our scripts or even our items and continued on the way. Yay, no crash. Woo! And that is another day of fixing one bug, which leads to 3 separate fixes. Sorry.
Our sky is made of skin.
Some of our backers have noted the similarity between David Ladyman and Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. So they actually managed to meet up at Comic-Con, and we got a picture. Check this out.
Check it out. I can't believe how similar they look.
That is pretty great.
Yeah,
I wish
the
I knew
beard, the white,
Yeah.
it's just,
Wish I knew what that conversation was like.
I know.
So now it's time for news around the verse. Let's do this module by module, starting with Arena Commander. And the big news out of Arena Commander is that 12.5 is out!
Woohoo!
After a lengthy battle with the rubber banding and latency bug, the team finally believes they have an experience to be proud of for Arena Commander. We're sending it out into the wild now. Fingers crossed that it fixes a lot of issues. We know it's going to fix all sorts of things, and there's some cool stuff there for backers too. Give it a try, let us know what you think. We'll be watching your Twitch streams and for your emails.
Meanwhile, the Star Citizen team is working hard on our planned Gamescom demo. We can't tell you what it is just yet,
Top secret.
but it's going to be very cool. Foundry 42, the Jean cargo room concept is now complete.
As is the Shubin Mining Station's comm area. These are the sets and set pieces that they're going to be using for the first couple missions of Squadron 42. So you'll be able to explore them and you'll see them in the cinematics.
Design is updating the Bengal carrier for later missions.
You guys probably remember the Bengal carrier from early in the campaign. We basically put it aside and said, we're not going to have this in Arena Commander. We're going to tackle it down the road, and down the road is here. We're going in there and updating it to current standards of Star Citizen. It's going to be pretty cool.
And as reported from the UK, they are tidying up action bubbles.
I included that in the script because I just thought it was a delightful expression. I don't know what it means in the concept of the game. I assume it's the nav points, but I just love that report. They're tidying up action bubbles.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Persistent Universe. They have finished laying out their first year roadmap. And what that means is it's how we expect the game to evolve in its first year of use. What are players going to do? What do we have to have contingencies for? It's pretty exciting to be thinking not just about Star Citizen's launch, but beyond it at this point.
And they are also working on the mission generation tools.
Yep, that's what's going to let us create organic Star Citizen missions. Missions are going to be a big factor in our economy, and we don't want them to be just like generic missions like in Privateer. Go to Nav 1, kill one ship, and come back. They need to feel like they're part of the world, and the team is putting a lot of effort into that.
Other news, they're working on the transitioning from hangar to planet to space.
And there's a big focus on outfit generation. It may seem like playing with dolls, but we need to figure out how to make our different costumes, the space suits, the informal suits, everything fit together properly.
Ships. The Gladius hangar animations are complete.
See, the Gladius coming sooner than later.
In the UK, F8 Lightning concept is 100% complete and now is going in engine.
And we are gray boxing the interiors of the Gladiator, the Javelin, the Panther, and the Retaliator.
The Origin M50 animations and model revisions are complete. It's ready.
Hangar ready?
Well, that's what that means, right? It's hangar ready, we're hoping.
And finally, the Mustang model is now complete, and it's going off for animations and hookup. To clarify, when we say that a model is complete, we mean that it's in the engine, you can look at it, but it doesn't work yet. So there's a little bit of buffer time between when we complete a model and when it's ready for you guys.
The bit that I probably wanted to clarify would be hookup.
Oh.
But that's okay. Moving on.
That's it for the news. Let's go over to Allie and James for customer service report.
Hey guys, welcome to customer service. I'm James Pugh.
And I'm Alexis Lesnick.
I'm filling in for Chelsea because she's on vacation. Gamescom tickets are now printable, but the door list is locked, so CS cannot help you change your ticket at this point.
And we would like to thank Quicksilver for sending in a box of these extra groat stroop waffles.
They're pretty groat. You know how like normal cookies have a normal amount of groat? Those cookies have extra of that.
They're groat.
Back to you guys.
Yeah, that looks groat. And speaking of groat, I hear you have some new merchandise to show us.
I do. I have playing cards, which I've been playing with for pretty much the whole episode.
Nice.
Ready? I'm going to, right. Stick that one on your head. Okay, now, who's got the higher card?
I think you have the higher card.
Yeah, I do think I do too. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, at first I thought that was an ace. But you can play much more sophisticated games than that. And these will be on sale shortly with matching little notepads and a pen. And
Show them some of the face cards. These
Ooh,
are cool.
yeah. All right, where are they? I see here.
Mm-hmm.
We have, that's a, okay, you can hold that one up.
Okay.
Right. That one, because they all have different things. So origin, have I given you a diamond yet?
You have
I've given you a
not.
heart.
Oh,
So
you
what
give
do
me a
need?
diamond and a
Spade,
heart.
spade,
Spade.
spade, and then you need a club, right? Let's just see. Clubs, 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 where are you?
Okay, so we have our
Here we
different
go, here we
ships
go, there we go.
from-
Look at that.
There you go. We've got our different ships from different manufacturers. The Joker is a Vandal site. We've got some logos in there. It's
Ooh, where are they?
a
Yeah,
cool
where-
set of cards.
Where did I put those? Can't find the jokers to save myself, but I do have the 4 aces. So we have the RSI, MISC, Origin Jumpworks, and Anvil Aerospace represented. So these are really cool. I'm not sure how much we're selling them for, not a lot. Probably around what the dog tags were,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Let's go over to William for this week's MVP.
Hey everybody, I'm lead moderator Will, here to bring you this week's MVP. This week's MVP goes to both King Noobs and Bad News Baron. Bad News Baron recently took to Twitch acting like Darth Vader playing Arena Commander, and King Noobs was nice enough to take a few of those clips and put them into a video.
These guns do nothing. They are underpowered and they need to be buffed. Chris Roberts, if you are listening to this, you need to buff the Aurora for the glory of the Empire. Skip the song, Brian, skip the song. I can't listen to this anymore. It hurts my mechanical ears. Shields rear.
You're doing this wrong.
It's because we're being spawn camped, Brian. Yes, look at me, look at my score. I am first on my team. I contributed. I am the Aurora Master. Fear me.
So thank you very much both, you're this week's MVP.
Thanks, William.
And speaking of awesome fan projects, you've probably seen the Lego Hornet that's been making the rounds. Well, the creator has now submitted it to Lego Ideas and is seeking votes to try to make it an official Lego set. And we are all for that. If they want to do it, we will get behind it. It needs 10,000 votes. It has 1,100 right now. Hit the link provided and you can check it out. Help us make an official Star Citizen Lego kit.
And now back to James, who sat down with Forrest, Stephan to talk about spaceships.
Hey guys, I'm here with Forrest, Stephan. Forrest, how you doing, buddy?
Excellent. How are you doing?
It's a pretty good answer.
Good.
A little nervous?
You look nervous.
I am, dude. I'm always nervous.
It's your first interview.
I know, right? Why don't we get into some questions?
Okay.
First question is from Amontillado, double L. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
how does a technical artist differ from a non-technical artist, and are they both in the same business team?
Yes. Basically, a technical artist works as a bridge in between a programmer, specifically usually a graphics programmer, and an artist.
Okay.
So if an artist wants to do some kind of effect on the ship, whether it's maybe wear and tear, or maybe it's something like exploding an asteroid, or I want to make laser bolts look this way.
I always want to make laser bolts.
Always, right? It's the best. So I will work with the artist and be like, okay, what would you like, or an art director, and how would you like it to look? And then I'll kind of look at the tech and see if that's doable.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not doable, then I'll go to the graphics engineer and try to convey what the art director or the artist would like to do, and then give some suggestions on, is this possible? Is this doable? What do we need to do? And then they'll give me some suggestions on these are the options, and then we'll kind of get together and weigh the options, and then they'll write the necessary code to provide a user end interface to allow the artist to do the vision that they have created.
Okay, cool. So you're kind of like, the artists come to you with a concept they want, and then you reiterate that to the people who can get that process started, and then you
Right.
take that information back to the artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
My job is just to make sure that whether it's Chris Roberts or an art director or another artist, whatever vision that they have is doable in the engine. and
So
then
you-
I'll work in between.
Kind of like the liaison, like they have a concept, and you try to make sure that concept is doable within the engine of the game, correct?
Right,
Cool.
and then I'll have to worry about things like making sure that if a graphics engineer says that, okay, this is really expensive, and then I'll go back to the artist and say, okay, well, this is really expensive. Can we cut this out? Maybe do this instead. Then they say, okay, that's actually fine. And then I'll go back to the graphics engineer. I'll be like, all right, if we cut this out, is it now doable? And is this going to hit our frame rates? Is it going to look the way that I envision it to look and they envision it to look? Then it's kind of a team effort, and I just make sure that the programmers can talk to the artists without having to actually
Cool.
talk to each other.
So it's almost like you got your feet in both pools, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, my feet are wet all the time.
Always.
Yep.
Second question comes from Sky Stars. What is your favorite ship, and how challenging is it to make the graphics and physics better? I assume it means for that ship.
We have so many cool new ships now. Like I feel like my original favorite ship was the 300i.
Okay.
It was modeled by Chris Smith. I love that ship. That thing is slick and cool. I like the interior. I like the exterior. Really like that ship. But there's a lot of good ships coming down the line that are pretty awesome that might steal me. So.
Like what? Yeah.
I
Can't
say.
say?
I can't say.
I tried.
I can't say. But I am excited about the Constellation because we've been working really hard on the Constellation to get that into the game and into the players' hands. And that'll be the first team ship where you get to play with your friends and have those awesome moments like with the turrets and everything. So
Sick.
that might be my favorite ship in its next near future.
Cool. So how hard is it to get the graphics and physics correct on, let's just go 300i because you said it was your favorite?
Well, it's getting easier and easier. At first it was really difficult. I mean, it's the amount of physics that are involved. You have to make sure that the mass on all ends of the ship are all correct. Otherwise you get some really funky flight stuff, and we have people like Dan Tracy that spends a lot of time actually trying to balance to make sure that all the mass is correct, to make sure that it flies right. As far as looking good, we have a pretty good pipeline right now as far as getting ships to look the way they want, and we're now figuring out exactly how we do that for every ship. So it's getting easier and easier. But obviously with new ships like the Constellation, lot more pieces, lot more mass, a lot more aspects having to balance against each other to get it to fly correctly and to look good, right? So, but we're figuring it out, and it's looking better and better and better, and it's going to keep looking better and better and better.
And better.
And better.
Very cool. Next question from JSD. What kind of special effects can we expect to see on our ships? Engine lens flares, wingtips condensation trails during the sharp turns.
Well, we obviously like to reference movies a lot and try to get as much of a kind of simulation realistic look and kind of combine with kind of that movie style look and feel as well. So when you're playing, it feels kind of cinematic and not so gamey, even though you are playing a game.
So J.J. Abramsy.
So, but again, you don't want lens flares in your face at all times, and so there's a lot of stuff that goes into, because normally it's all post and you can just place it wherever you want. But the difficulty lies in you want it to still be fun to play, and things that could not be so annoying, and sometimes to some people they are in film, can be really bad as far as when you're playing in the game, right? The HUD is something that's always a big challenge, right? How much of the screen do you take up? How much of the screen do you leave open? And then like lens flares, for example. We do lens flares based on angles. So if you're looking at a lens flare directly, it'll show a certain way. If you're looking at it completely on the side of the screen, it'll show a certain way, and then if you're looking at it from an angle, maybe you don't see it at all. So a lot of times when I do a lot of the visual effects, whether it's the muzzle flashes, which are still coming online, engine effects, all that stuff, it's going to be perception based. So depending on the angle you're looking at is the effect that's being played at that particular time.
Cool.
To give that feel of cinematic movie feel, but not that annoying, it's always in your face type situation, so it's more like a game.
Does that make it more difficult? Because I imagine if you're looking at it if you're designing where there's different focal points you can look at, does that make coding it difficult?
No, the coding's
More
not
difficult,
difficult. It's more labor intensive because
Okay.
you're creating more effects. And at first, it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of trial and error. But over time, you create a pipeline, and then you get your system, and then you figure out, all right, this is how it is every time, and this is what looks the best. So then it's just a matter of creating the additional art. But we make lots of libraries to use stuff over and over and over again, even if it doesn't look like it, depending on the situation, which helps it flow and makes the process of creating it a lot less intensive and take a lot less time. So a big part of it, and this rolls back to doing the technical art as well, is it's not even just getting the effect to play the way you want it to play, but having it simple enough for an artist to be able to do it in the time frame that is allowed for them to do it in. So you try to make things look as good as possible and be done as quickly as possible.
It's like it's always the balancing act.
It's always a balancing act.
Cool. All right, thanks. Next question from Socrates. Well, Socrates.
He's been drinking.
Not yet. Well, yeah. All right. Will the SSAO and shadows get more love to get depth on the small objects to look richer? E.g., in the rivets and Hornet's cockpit, it seems that it should be darker in certain places, but instead has a fairly flat luminosity. First of all, explain SSAO.
SSDO and SSAO. Well,
Yeah.
one's for console, one's for PC. But
Okay.
basically, what that is, it's considered a screen space global illumination, or occlusion, so to speak. So if you're looking in walls, basically, when a wall hits a 90-degree corner, you have a little strip of shadow because that represents where the light gets trapped.
Yeah.
And so when you see things with sharp corners and stuff and screws and stuff, they don't look flat compared to the ground because you have light being trapped, and so they pop a little more.
Okay.
The difficulty with games is that's extremely expensive.
Really?
As far as doing something that's the quality of an offline renderer, because you have to use ray tracing and stuff to figure out where that stuff should be. So the SSDO is a screen space effect that does an estimation, so to speak. However, it is difficult in our situation because we have giant environments and very small environments, and normally you would make your settings be based on one type of environment. And so when you have something like a screw, that's a whole different set of SSDO settings as you would a 90-degree wall that's 100 feet tall.
Okay.
So that's been a challenge, is how to make things not look flat. As far as what he's discussing in the interior of the ship, the real issue is that we haven't yet implemented the process of how to control the light going through the ship. And so in general, how games do it in the past, especially Crytek games, is you create what's called the viz area, and then the viz area will block out the sun so it doesn't bleed through your architecture or your ship geometry, for example.
Okay.
And then you would have something called a portal, and then the portal you would stick in the windows of your viz areas, and that would allow light to come through that portal, so to speak. However, most games use that technology with just shapes and boxes. Our ships are a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
So we need to work on a type of tech that allows the sun to come through the ship, but yet it's not coming through all the geometry and everything. It only comes through like the windows and the areas that we really want it to come through.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Which makes it a little more complicated.
Yeah.
And it's not that, I think that the issue is the SSDO that's making the interior of their ships look flat for the screws, for example. It's the fact that there's so much light coming in. So it's really hard to get your dark areas because it's kind of being blown out.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something that we've talked a lot about. We've been talking about it for a long time and working on solutions. And I think that that would probably solve the answer to that question. Is having better control of the lighting environment and where it's happening.
All right, cool. All right, so last question is from Jesse Adama. Are there going to be any wear and tear?
Is that the relative of Adama from Battlestar Galactica?
I would assume, but I think
Wait.
it's spelled differently. Like, isn't it? No, there's two M's in the Adama. Because they spelled like one in the
It's
show,
not a real
right?
person, I was just joking.
Are you sure? Wait, are you telling me Battlestar's not real? That's what. Oh. Are there going to be any
We're actually on Earth right now because they found it.
Well, I mean, spoiler alert, it could work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Well, we won't say anything more for people who haven't seen Battlestar. Are there going to be any wear and tear aspects of the ships over time, inside and out? This could be the result of not taking the ship in for regular repairs or refurbishments, and if so, how do you show that?
Oh yeah, wear and tear. We've been saying it the whole time. We want wear and tear. Specifically, right now we're concentrating on the exterior of the ships. Actually, 2 weeks ago, we wrote some additional tech to support what we call layer blending that could blend a set of textures in between another set of textures. And then we are hooking up code to access that, and depending on what design we'd like to do, we're going to provide them numeric values that will represent the wear and tear between clean and super dirty.
Okay.
There's still a lot of things to be worked out as far as the wear and tear, and there's still some aspects that we haven't figured out, like glass. That's something that currently we started looking into is instead of just having scratched metal and more dirt happening over time, and maybe you get your vehicle and then you're out and you're never taking care of it, and then you take it to a base and you get it cleaned, and then your numeric value goes back to 0, right? But now your ship is actually clean because you switched your layer blending back to the original transition. But however, for like glass, that's a whole different shader and a whole different set of layer blending stuff. But we really would like to do stuff as well where that's getting dirtier. And then there's stuff like the damaged states that are similar to the wear and tear, but they are handled differently. But again, that kind of works for glass as well. We'd really like to start seeing kind of glass get old and start kind of cracking, and then there's a lot of cool stuff that like movies do where the more damage it gets, it starts kind of getting frosty and stuff, and kind of that kind of thing.
It gets all like kind of murky kind of.
Murky,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So that's right now we're kind of working on that aspect. The interior of the ships will be done similar to the exterior of the ships, but again, it's a balance because you're dealing with a mass amount of textures. And even though we're taking steps to eliminate a lot of the need for the textures and having particular textures that are being reused over and over and over again, creating the same effects, it still gets pretty texture heavy. But so we're working on methods to do the materials and to blend materials to make it as efficient as possible, so it's not hurting people's computers when they're seeing their vehicle. We don't want to hog up the texture memory too much because we got lots of big ships that we got to take care of.
Is it a little weird because we've all spent so much time making these ships look nice? Is it weird designing them to look kind of?
No, I think they look cooler when they're messed up.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Cool, dude.
I think they look cooler. I would start my ship just destroyed. Just crash it right off the lot.
Never take it in for.
And then never take it in.
Would it be a car wash, ship wash?
I don't know how that works.
Starship wash?
Yeah, ship wash.
Like, is it still just people with mops or whatever?
Just people, yeah, totally.
Like, how do you wash a Connie? Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, when you fill up your power plant, there's a guy there trying to wash it for a space credit. That's actually what I'm going to do. I'm just going to clean people's vehicles for space credits.
Oh, so you're going to do in the PU?
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
I've seen some people have done some amazing like wear and tear jobs where like I said, I thought it was almost cooler without it because you get this pure metal undercoating the paint that has all its rivets, and it's just like super mechanical and cool, and you kind of see it raw. So
like all the famous, like most famous starships are usually not very pristine. They're almost like like the Serenity and
you can't live your life in a space garage. Got to get out there.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on, and back to you guys. Pick whichever one you want.
Thanks, James. We are lucky to have Forrest. He's a genuine talent.
And what better way to end the week with a new hangar-ready ship?
You don't say. A new hangar-ready ship?
Gosh, we already know what that is, don't we?
Yes, it is the M50, available starting tomorrow. Finally, your racer is ready in the hangar. If you bought one during the early campaign, you'll be able to find it once you patch to 12.5, and we're making it available for a week to anyone who'd like to pick one up now. To share a little bit of the process for the M50, we got ready to releasing it last week, and Chris Roberts said, no, it needs a new coat of paint. So Chris Smith, our artist in Austin, gave us 10 different options, which we'll share here. And tomorrow you're going to find out which of them Chris selected.
That's not all. Check out the Star Citizen Pledge store starting Monday, when it will be getting an all-new design developed by the crack web team Turbulent.
All right, you ready? Well, yeah, the collapse happened.
Collapse happened. Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. All right, so we're here with
Ask me a question.
Christopher Smith. I can call you Christopher, right? Is that-
No, it's
is that
Chris.
what you would rather you'd rather Chris, not Christopher.
Christopher is what my mom calls me when I'm in trouble.
So, what have you been working on, man? I know you've been working hard. You've been
Well-
burning the midnight oil. I've seen it.
Yeah, so I've been working on the Mustang. Been trying to get that ship ready. It was supposed to be ready at the finale of the Next Greatest Starship, but that didn't happen.
Why you been slacking?
Yeah, just in my office. Just
Yeah,
kick back, my
just
feet
sleeping
go
under
up.
your desk. I understand. You just,
Yeah,
just
it's
been
so
screwing
comfortable.
off.
Yeah, the carpet's so nice and cushy, so it's hard to do work. But I finally got to it, and it is ready now. It's
It looks damn sweet.
looking nice. I think Chris is pretty happy with it, as you are as well.
Yeah, it looks great. So I think there was wasn't there a few back and forth redesigns with the,
The interior. Yeah, so the issue initially was that it was too tight for our character. David Hobbins, it was just, I think his scale character was just a little off, and so that he used when doing the concept phase. And so when we put our actual character in there, he just wouldn't fit. It was like a little hobbit door.
The other thing is the damage stuff is like kind of
That's
pain in the butt,
really
too.
That's really detailed, and it's a lot of work.
Right.
Especially especially for ships, and we essentially have variants of the ships which are the same thing, but there's always these little pieces that are different, so they have to be recreated, re-damaged. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It's very complicated and tedious.
So few people know this actually, that Chris and I have, God, how long we've known each other for?
I think we started working together in 2007. It was at 3D Realms.
Yeah, 3D Realms.
And we worked on the famous Duke Nukem.
Infamous.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. That's
Duke
where we
Nukem
first.
project.
Yeah. So Chris and I decided that it would be a good idea in the middle of summer to pick up disc golfing. If you guys don't know what that is, it's like throwing frisbees at chains.
In the woods.
It's like it's like golf, except you're doing it. But we decided to do it in Dallas.
Such a hippie sport.
Yeah, we decided to pick it up in Dallas in the summer.
And then we just kept playing, even though it became like
110
degrees.
Yeah, people would go
We'd
out
go
with us
for-
and be like, "What are you
We
doing?"
just wanted to get out of the office for an hour.
Yeah.
And just
The first couple of weeks we did it, like I forgot to bring clothes, so I would just be like soaking wet.
Yeah, it was sitting in Mark's.
That was gross.
Funk.
So anyway, all right. Well, thank you, Christopher Smith. I appreciate
My trouble.
your your mom's calling you Christopher Smith. I appreciate your time and all your hard work, because I know you've been putting in the hours, man, and it shows.
Thank you.
The Mustang is amazing, and I'm sure you guys will see it soon. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it for Around the Verse this week.
Sure. Be sure to tune in next week when we sit down with programmer Chad Zamzow, and you get the Chad Zamzow experience.
I love Zamzow. And we're going to leave you, of course, with an art sneak peek.
Did you guys think we forgot about the Caterpillar? We almost did. No, we've been working on it in secret, and here are a couple of shots of recent concepts. You can see we've updated the landing gear, trying to figure out exactly how it works in the Star Citizen universe. Check it out.
I'm still getting that wabi from you. It's a scientific term.